I guess a first step would be if policymakers could maybe mandate that these social media companies they would have to share their data in which to at least help researchers along the path. But I guess none of us are surprised that they're reluctant to share that data.
Well, I agree with you. So collaborations are essential. Collaborations with the industry, collaborations also with governments who are starting to see the problem more as being more serious as well. So I think the inclusion of gaming disorder as an official diagnosis is really paving the way for a more concrete understanding of what is actually happening, what
Hmm.
kinds of problems may ensue, what does that mean for the individual, and then really thinking about what can we do in order to alleviate the problem. And I think when thinking about alleviation of the problem, we cannot only think about treatment, which of course is very important for those individuals who require it, but
Hmm.
on the other hand, we also must think about prevention in the first instance. So really preventing the problems from occurring in the first instance. What can we do as researchers, as governments, as the industry, in order to make sure that the products that are being produced are safe for users to use, that the ways they're being used are safe, and that the users are protected? We have seen similar protections available for within the gambling industry, where gamblers are indeed, being made aware of their behaviors, or where there are limits set, for example, to their gambling behaviors in order to protect them. And I think user protection, as well as increasing corporate social responsibility, are very, very important tools in, when thinking about the future and how it could look in order to support people when using technology.
Gotcha. I noticed in your bio that you've worked with various government organizations. So I suppose as a thought experiment, if tomorrow I was able to, brandish you a benevolent dictator, Dr. Kuss, what sort of policies would you want to see implemented right away for schools or smartphone use? Is there anything that you've thought of that, if you could snap your fingers and have done, you would want implemented?
Yes, I think the main thing that I would want to see within the school context, for example, would be open conversations between the children with their teachers as well as the parents, to make technology use an open field of conversation, really being able to converse about why are people using the technology, why are the children engaging with technology, how are they engaging with it. This is where some of the behavioral data would come in really handy, would be really important for us to have. And then really, the awareness of all parties that really technology use in and of itself may be very beneficial for the individual, but understanding where the crux might be, where that kind of behavior might become problematic. So really providing the psychosocial education of how technology can be used in a safe way, how it can be beneficial, but also preventing at the same time negative or potentially problematic behaviors from occurring in the first place.
Right. Yeah, because it seems like one of these issues where government mandates could um, kind of clash with what some parents want, and other ones, for some parents, it can't act fast enough. Because I've heard of instances from friends of mine who are teachers that say they would like to implement a no phone policy in their classrooms, and some parents are overwhelmingly for this, and other ones are like, no, I want to be able to text my kid whenever I want. It doesn't matter what class they're like. It seems like there is almost a codependency part on the parents' relationship with some of their kids that they don't want to, and so I'm curious how those open conversations would go, where it's not data driven, it's more how people feel, and if that would just cause more clashes. Have you seen anyone try to implement these things in the UK yet, or are we not there at this point?
I know that there are a lot of conversations currently going on about phones in the classrooms, and a number of parties, including schools themselves, saying no, we don't want any phones in classrooms. And we really have to think about, why would we want those phones in the classrooms in the first place? Is it because parents want to be able to communicate with their children at any point in time? Well, what was it like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when that
Right.
wasn't the case? Was it necessary then? I think we really have to ask those sometimes uncomfortable questions. And once we realize that those questions perhaps are not as difficult to answer as we might think that they are in the first instance, things might change. So, there is also the question of to what extent do we want to use technology in general in the classroom. So how much online education should there be? Should the children have their laptops out in all the classes at all
Mm,
times? Is that a sensible approach? And if so, do we want to block any certain apps from those laptops or from those tablets that might be used in the classroom? So I think there are quite a number of questions that need to be asked in the school context, and those questions need to be answered, in my opinion, in a conversation that includes the children, the parents, as well as the teachers. So parents often also require the education about children's behaviors, about technology use, because often they have limited knowledge and limited insight into how technology is being used by their children. And they may, over pathologize actually healthy technology use behaviors, which may be
right.
problematic in the end.